Hello everyone, greetings from National Skills Network. Today we have with us Dr. Anup Satpathy, and he is an expert in labor laws, and he knows a lot about the current situation in the labor market, and being the faculty member at VV Giri National Labor Institute. And Dr. Anup Satpathy was also the chairman of minimum wages committee on behalf of the Ministry of Labor and Employment earlier. You must have read the report which was submitted by his team earlier. So we have the privilege of speaking to him today directly to look at few points which I think all of us in the skilling and employment ecosystem should be learning more about. So welcome to this conversation, Dr. Anup Satpathy. Let us begin by understanding more about the connection that has to be re-established between skilling and the labor market.
Yeah, thank you, Madhuri, for giving me this opportunity, and also to your organization, that is NSN. And as all of you know, that we are going through a situation in the post-COVID situation wherein the labor markets are under pressure. Labor market is picking up, but we are yet to reach the pre-COVID scenario in terms of observation of the people, and in which, but you have to see that. Our labor market is largely informal, and therefore the labor market or the productivity of the worker is low compared to people those who are working in the organized sector, or compared to people or worker in other countries doing similar kind of job. So we are grappling with a situation of unemployment. At the same time, the major problem is that of underemployment, low productivity in the labor market, and as a result of which wages are also low. In that, if you ask me what would be the solution, obviously skill development, skill acquisition is one of the strategy that one can adopt. And this is more relevant for India because we are having a large youth workforce with less skill possession compared to our East Asian countries, or compared to BRICS countries, or compared to other similarly placed countries. So skill acquisition is one of the fundamental strategy for taking the labor market in out of this underemployment situation. But that should not be the end of all the intervention that is required to bring the labor market to a situation of decent employment. So there are skill development, in my view, can be put as a part of an integrated strategy in which skill development will assume an important role. So what could be the other strategy? The other strategy is to formalize the informal economy. We have to see in that context that we have to formalize the informal economy. And when we are talking about skill acquisition or productivity, we have to give due emphasis also on enterprise development, because most of our enterprises are small enterprises, micro enterprises, which are employing less than 10 workers. A significant number of them are employing less than 5 workers. So how to formalize the informal economy, both in terms of worker and as well as in terms of enterprises, should get due recognition in the policy making. We have to focus on growth, and growth along with that quality of employment that is generated from that growth. At present, we are generating most of the jobs that are generated out of growth process are largely informal. So how we can create better jobs, decent jobs out of growth process should get fundamental attention. And then as far as the workers' perspective, we have to give emphasis on skill development, we have to give emphasis on extension of social security, we have to give emphasis on extension of labor rights to all the workers. Similarly, from enterprise perspective, we have to ensure that enterprises are growing. We have to extend credit to them, we have to extend marketing facilities to them, we have to give business development facilities to them. So you can see that there are many interventions that is required simultaneously along with skill development to address the issue of the labor market and how to informalize, or rather how to formalize the informal economy.
Yes, I think I should thank you for placing skilling in a larger perspective from the labor market point of view. I would also like to add a couple of things here. Of late, we are talking about demand-driven skill development, which assumes that there is a lot of information about what jobs are getting generated in the market. And then we are also assuming that organizations like sector skill councils would be ready with a lot of information about what jobs are getting generated. Along with it, now the district skill committees and other grassroots level organizations perhaps will be collecting such information. This is one side of what is happening currently in terms of understanding the the market dynamics for jobs. And the second thing is, as you know, in India, skilling is targeted for those who are like non-achievers, underprivileged, and socially deprived. I think to get out of this and make it very aspirational so that it gets that respect that is required, we also have to look at wages and the working conditions and many other things. Would you be giving us some insights into this? What would be your suggestions going ahead in the larger picture of saying demand-driven skill development or industry-driven skilling and the job markets?
Yeah, Madhuri, I cannot disagree, agree more with you regarding making skill aspirational. And one fundamental aspect in that regard would be to provide adequate wage premium for higher level of skills, which unfortunately is not there in the market. And I totally agree with you. If you see in the kind of wages that unskilled people are receiving and the kind of wages that semi-skilled or skilled or high skilled workers are receiving, there is not much difference. So skill acquisition is not rewarded in the labor market largely in terms of higher wages. And if you have time, I can show you one slide where I can rather give some evidence to this effect, so that your audience can understand the situation of wages in the labor market for skilled, unskilled, at least not in terms of actual, but in terms of minimum wages that are being fixed in the labor market. And I'm just going to show you a couple of slides with your permission, so that your
Ahead.
audience can understand. Let me share with you. So this is a very revealing slide for your audience. You can see, I hope clear. Here I am giving you the minimum wages for 2018-19 for lowest wages in India per day, in particular state per day. Lowest wages are meant for unskilled labor, and highest wage is for highly skilled labor.
Yeah.
So you can see in states like many states like Nagaland, or for matter Tripura, or even Uttarakhand, many states, you can see the difference in wages, minimum wages of unskilled labor and high skilled labor. There is hardly any difference, from which you can conclude that skills are not getting due recognition at the time of fixation of minimum wages. So this is a very slide where you can see that in many states this is happening. There is hardly any differences in the wages of unskilled labor and high skilled labor, because here I am giving the lowest minimum wage and highest minimum wage at the state level. So this is the scenario now. And if you see in a comparative perspective across countries, I am giving you here the gross monthly minimum wage level in Asia and Pacific. There are 30 Asia Pacific countries, and if you see that both in dollar terms, on the blue bar in PPP and the red bars are in USD dollar, of gross monthly minimum wage level in Asia Pacific countries of the latest data 2019, which I have taken from Global Wage Report. So you can see that of the 30 countries, the level of gross monthly minimum wage in India is third lowest. There are countries like Bangladesh and Solomon Island, which is below India. So this is the level of gross monthly minimum wage. And all other South Asian countries, be it Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, have except Bangladesh, all have higher minimum wages. And you can see East Asian countries like China, Vietnam, Thailand, Cambodia, they have still higher level of minimum wages. And the highest minimum wages are in 4 OECD countries of, within Asia Pacific, like your Australia, New Zealand, Korea, and Japan. So the level of minimum wage is a issue that needs to be addressed. I showed these two specific slides to bring home the point that we are the first conclusion is that the level of wages are very low, and there is skill is not properly rewarded. And this is another slide where you can see the productivity in India is growing at a faster rate than the growth in minimum wage rate. You can see here India, where the productivity is growing, labor productivity is growing at a faster rate at 5.5%, whereas minimum wage is growing at 3.9%. So the growth in minimum wage is not in consonance with the growth in productivity. So there is a need to set the minimum wages and make the minimum wages rewarding for higher skill level people. And this is an issue which has been addressed in the wage code recently. And the wage rule is talking about constituting a committee, technical committee, with representative from Ministry of Skill Development, from industry, from trade union, to link minimum wages with national occupational national skill qualification framework.
Okay.
To determine minimum wages objectively rather than subjectively. Okay. And if you want to determine minimum wages objectively, you have to link it to the skill qualification framework. You have to link it with national classification of occupation. So there is a provision for constituting a technical committee to determine wages across skill level, and we think this process will help in making skill rewarding. If you are acquiring skill, you will be rewarded with a higher minimum wages in line with national skill qualification framework and occupational classification.
Yeah, I think if this step is taken, it will go a big way in also recognizing the skilled people. Like you said, the payment has to be as per the skill and not ignoring their competencies. So that is one. And thank you for showing those slides. I think it was highly informative and insightful, particularly the productivity level going up and the minimum wages not matching with it. These issues, I think, will have to be addressed by the larger skilling ecosystem, the employment related issues and many other things. Now, I would like to complicate this situation even more by bringing the gig economy into our conversation. As you are aware, at present, India is going big on gig economy, and we understand lots and lots of jobs are getting generated because of these aggregators like the logistics sector and many others. And there is also the issue about social security, which everybody is talking about. And there is this Social Security Code 2020, which was approved. We would like to know from you, how does this work for this set of workers, the gig workers who are like freelance workers, who are doing contractual jobs? Do you think it's going to help them? And how do we make it mandatory for the employers, or rather the contractors, to make sure that a bit of the money gets deposited for them and it adds up later? So what are your views on this?
Thank you, Madhuri, for asking this question, because for the first time gig and platform economy workers have been recognized in the labor law. They are not, as you have rightly said, they may be contractor and independent worker, therefore they are not classified as worker. So we need to be very clear that they are not classified as worker per se, because our labor legislation is not considering the new form of employment relationship and to classify them as worker. But it will take some time to recognize, to get recognition of as a worker. So the minimum wage and other provisions would not be applicable to these workers. Unlike in USA, in some of the USA states, they have been now started considering them as worker. But over time, a situation will emerge in India where they will be classified as a worker.
Yeah.
And there are enough ground exist to classify them as a worker, because even if they are contractor or independent worker, they are working under the direction of someone. It's not that they are working independently entirely. They are working under the direction of someone, but time has not come yet perhaps in India to classify them as worker. Nonetheless, for the first time they have been defined. Who is a gig worker, who is a platform worker, has been defined in the Social Security Code for the purpose of extending social security to these kind of workers. Because the objective of the Social Security Code is to ensure universalization of extension of social security, and hence there is a provision for social security for gig and platform workers. I think there would not be a problem of funding, because there will be a cess would be imposed on the kind of platform economy enterprises through which a fund will be created
Yeah.
for their extension of social security. It may happen that a part of that benefit may be contributory. Worker may be asked to provide a portion of contribution to that fund, but at present the Social Security Code mandates that a cess will be imposed, like construction worker cess, a cess will be imposed for extending social security. So I don't think there will be an issue of funding as far as the extension of social security is concerned, but the issue of implementation may come into picture. For example, in case of construction workers also, you are seeing that a lot of funds are there, but utilization of that fund and extending social security is an issue we had during pandemic also. Lots of 50,000 crore of rupees were lying in the construction cess fund, so it was not being utilized. So implementation may be an issue. So we must focus on how how fast we can register these workers, and how fast we can design benefit for the workers, and how fast we can link the workers to the benefits. So that is the challenge as far as extending social security to gig and platform workers are concerned.
Yeah, I think that was a very clear delineation of various points that are included in the Social Security Code. Thanks for sharing them again. Besides all this, my last point would be, is there anything else you would wish to add to the points we discussed now? Have we missed something to make this a
Uh,
complete conversation?
Now, in the context of skilling become aspirational, I think we need to emphasize, because there are rights are there, but we need to put more emphasis on awareness of the legal right of the workers, because unless and until everybody understand the law and understand their rights, uh, until that time you will see implementation is a big issue in Indian context with huge informal economy. So it is a challenge. Wage code, there are very good provision in the wage code, but compliance is a problem.
Okay.
Social Security Code, there are very many enabling provision, but extending benefit and implementation is a problem. So we must focus on awareness generation. We must focus on online grievance redressal machinery, so that if you are not getting wages, there may be a toll-free number where you can say that I am not receiving wages, and I am working in this enterprise. There are at present government is going to register all the enterprise who are employing 10 and more workers. So if you are working in an enterprise employing 10 or more, so it would have a unique identity number as its registration number. And if you are a worker working in that enterprise, you are not getting your wages or not getting your social security. So through use of technology, how we can use the technology in a bigger way to address the grievance, to generate more awareness about the labor laws and legal rights of the worker. That would be, in my view, will ensure last mile connectivity.
Okay. Yes, definitely. I think awareness at the ground level and grassroots level is something which we have to take up in a very big way. And we from National Skills Network have been trying to do something on these lines for the last 5 years, and we hope to continue to do so with your support. Thanks a lot for talking to me today, Dr. Anup Satpathy. I look forward to be in touch with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madhuri, and your team at NSN, who are doing a great work as far as skill ecosystem is concerned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.